Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you haven't been here before. If you haven't been here before, please subscribe to be a part of the bilingual family. So in today's video, I am going to show you my eyeshadow collection, and this video is completely inspired by the lovely Beauty by Sky. I saw their video and I really wanted to do like an eyeshadow collection video as well, so that is what we're going to do today. So yeah, I don't have a lot of eyeshadow palettes, but I do have probably more than the regular consumer of makeup, so I kind of wanted to show you every single palette that I own, why I own it, what my favorite shades are, for example. And yeah, it's just a very chillax kind of video today. Grab some popcorn, do something else in the meantime, like vacuum, for example. Vacuum, do something that you enjoy in the meantime, because we're gonna be here for a while. Grab a snack. But yeah, here is my eyeshadow collection. Okay, so these are my palettes. These are my palettes. So these are all of the palettes that I own, and I'm very excited to kind of guide you through all of them. I recently did a declutter, so there are a few palettes that have gone out of my collection. So if you want to watch that, you have to kind of watch my previous video to see which other palettes were in here. Let's start, because this is gonna be a long video. So the first palette is this one from Juvia's Place. This is the Magique palette. This is one of my first ever palettes that I think I ever got when I was doing makeup, like in the beginning. Like for a very long time it was this one and the ABH Modern Renaissance one. This was like, I think like one of my first very colorful palettes. Yeah, I was a huge bitch for this one, I gotta be honest. I really liked the mattes in here at the time. I love these three shimmers right here, and this one right here is very crumbly. This is the shade Awesome. Very crumbly, but I really like this one. I like anything that has to do with pink. I don't like pink in any other situation, but when it comes to eyeshadow, I really like it. And also this one, Faso, is like this really beautiful, like purpley, can you see, bluish purple. That was so, like, it was my introduction to like duochromes and stuff, so this was really cool. So this was like my first introduction to like colorful palettes, and like Juvia's Place has a very nice formula, but I feel with time I've come to prefer formulas a little bit more, like the Nabla formula. I really like this one. Yeah, it's very nostalgic because it's like my first ever palette, you know? I'm gonna do this in random order, but this is the Nabla Cutie palette in the shade Midnight. This is a very well-loved palette, as you can see. I absolutely love this shade right here, which is called Air. It is very pastel-y, very powdery, very dusty, but at the same time it's still quite soft, and I still love it despite not like the formula being extremely crumbly and powdery. This satin right here, I wish this was a shimmer. This is a shade Sapphire, because it right now is just like that weird satin kind of formula. And listen, I don't like satins. Give me some shimmeriness, you know? Other than that, we have the shade Alma. I love this one as well. It's also almost completely panned. I don't know if you can see that, but like we're very close to it. And then this random brown in here, why? Like, I get it, this brown is like beautiful with blue tones, but it's a blue palette, so I wish this was also like a blue shade, but this is actually one of my favorite palettes, one of my favorite color schemes. I use this formula or palette almost every single time I use blue eyeshadow. I'm obsessed with this. Next up we have the Beauty Bay Pastels palette. Not a favorite in a lot of people's books, and I have to be a little bit careful with this because this could just completely crumble as I am touching it, but this is the Beauty Bay Pastels palette. I really like the color scheme of this palette because it's like pastels, and pastels are always great fun and stuff like that. But this formula is so extremely dusty and powdery and unblendable and patchy, and you cannot stack colors on top of each other, which is a shame. So what I usually do with these shades, like you can see, it looks kind of like I've dug like something in here. I actually use this to kind of create like liquid liners and try and use it that way, because otherwise it is just a complete nightmare, which is a little bit unfortunate because this is a beautiful palette and I really like the shades in here. I just absolutely hate the formula, which is unfortunate, but I'm keeping it to kind of play with it as like liner and stuff like that. So, or like a one shadow look with some like black liner is always great. Next up is a palette from Beauty Bay that I actually do like. This is the Beauty Bay Love Notes palette. I love this. Listen, I really do. This together with the Nikki Tutorials palette is one of my absolute favorite eyeshadow palettes. I'm like I said before, I'm a huge sucker for pink eyeshadow and also for purple eyeshadow, which is kind of ironic because I never ever I don't have clothes in a pink color or purple color, but these are so beautiful. I love these pastel purples. I love these like peachy pinks. I love this kind of maroon burgundy kind of shades. Purples are very, very beautiful in here, and I also really like these kind of like neutralized basic shades, beautiful as well in my opinion. In this palette, I like the formula of the mattes and the shimmers equally. I think the mattes are really great. You have to be a little bit careful with the darkest shades. They really set the bar for me because I just love the way that these look, how shimmery, how multi-dimensional these look. And this entire palette it's a baby for me. It's my baby. I love this one very, very much. Moving on, we have this Boozy Cosmetics Pro palette, which is basically like an empties palette. Now this is basically my singles palette, but I have another one right here. This is like a smaller one, as you can see. So all of these shimmery goodness right here, these are all Glam Shop shimmers, and it is so good. I wish I could fill this entire palette already with just like these type of shimmery shades. They are so beautiful. They have become, quite frankly, my life. Like I said before with the Beauty Bay palette, these shimmers have even put the bar even higher, to be honest. Adore these. These are so good. They are so shimmery but not like glittery. They just transform any look. It's great. It's amazing. And then these on this side are a combination of Colored Rain eyeshadows, Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadows, and then all of these are like singles, these small ones from ColourPop palettes that I had and that I kind of depotted because I didn't like the palette anymore, but I did like specific shades. In my declutter, I also talked about like not really liking the formula of the Vivid Rain palette, and these are kind of like singles of that same formula as the palette, and I just don't like them. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with these in the future, but the other ones are quite nice. The Anastasia ones are quite it's okay, but it's nothing special, and the ColourPop ones, I like them because they are these kind of like mustardy shades. I really think they're quite beautiful, but other than that, also not like blown away as I am, for example, with the Beauty Bay palettes and the Nabla palettes that I talked about. And then right here we have some more singles, and basically these 9 right here, so these three, and these 3 are all Nabla. Oh yeah, and this one as well. This one is also Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the shade Baby Cake. I almost never use this one, but I should use it a little bit more. And then these 2 are also from ColourPop. It's like their blush in... Oh no, this is the Essence Peach Me Up blush. And then this one is a bronzer from ColourPop in the shade Lunar Hazard. Or is it a blush? It was from like the Kathleen Lights collection from a while ago. I think it's a blush actually, and I don't like this formula at all. But yeah, I love the Nabla formula, but these are a little bit different than the ones in their palettes. I love these shades. Obviously, this one is so unique to me. It's like a gray purple. It's insane. So yeah, those are my single collection right now. But I think I am going to kind of expand as the time goes on. A new palette in my collection is this Vive 90s palette. Now I'm gonna keep it quite short because I have a review for you guys on my channel, so if you want to watch that, I would recommend that. But this is probably one of the only Cool Time palettes in my collection, and I really like it. I have been using it quite a lot. I'm not the biggest fan of these shimmery shades, and they're like just very bland. It's not necessarily a cohesive cohesive palette, but I do really like just the fact that I have some like cool tone shades in my collection, and I almost use this as like singles in a way, and I try to not think about the cohesion of the palette. But yeah, this is a really nice one, and I think the shade in this one that I do like the most is the shade Supermodel, kind of gray, light gray, taupey kind of color. It's so cool. Recently I did a look with the shade Low Rise, and that was also pretty cool. But yeah, this is the Vive 90s palette. It's great, it's new. Watch my review. That rhymed. An oldie but a goodie, the Be Perfect Carnival XL Pro palette. This is eyeshadow Rainbow Dreams, to be honest. Yeah, this is a palette. Oh shit, it's crumbly. Okay, anyway, this is a palette that I absolutely used to death, but not entirely, in the year 2018, 2019. I'm not sure anymore. And also like during Corona and stuff, I use this palette a lot. It is a very beautiful palette that I do like to keep in my collection because it just has almost every single shade in almost every single category. As you can see, this green shade, as you can see, is very fluorescent, and I have used this a ton. I love this shade. This was just a very nice palette to kind of have a rainbow palette at the time, and then I started expanding more to like monochromatic palettes, but this was an amazing palette, and I think I will be keeping this until the end of time. And then I wanted the extension of the XL Pro palette, and this is the Be Perfect Carnival 3 Love Tahiti palette. I recently started using this one again because I mean, hello, here we have the pink shades again. Looking backwards, I wasn't the biggest fan of the color scheme when I first got the palettes in my hands, and I was very, you know, pumped about it before I actually got it. Like, I saw the pictures and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so great. And then I got it in my hands and I started playing with it, and then I was a little bit underwhelmed, I guess. I don't know exactly why. And I started rediscovering this one a little bit more recently because you know, there are a lot of really nice shades in here. This shimmery shade, what is this called? Starlight, is so cool. It, like I said before, purple shades. I'm obsessed. But this one is really nice. I really like lilac. I really like Tahiti. This pink, what is this called? Pink Lily, crazy stains as a motherfucker, but it's really nice as well. I love this green shade, obviously. The blue's not necessarily my favorite in the palette. This one also not really my favorite, but this one, this greeny shimmery one, this one right here, to die for. But yeah, this palette is very lovely, and I love using it. Also, this shade right here, Coral, insane. It's so fluorescent. I know this is not going to show up correctly on camera. Then we have some more Juvia's Place palettes. As you can see, I was a big fan of Juvia's Place for a long time, and I feel like they kind of fizzled out. I don't see them on any kind of retailer that I can buy them anymore, which is really sad because I really like their palettes. So let's start. So this is the Duce palette from Juvia's Place, and I have to be a little bit careful because, as you can see, I lost the shade. Again, pink toned palette. Man, I have a lot of pinks in my collection. I don't know what to tell you. I love it. Love this palette. When it comes to the shades individually, I think together it's sometimes a little bit difficult to come up with a look, but when it comes to like every individual shade, I love them all. This pink, which is kind of like salmony, but also like a classic pink, is really nice. This shimmer is like a light shimmer. Oh, I'm obsessed. This one is really nice. I did use this as a highlighter when I was a little bit younger, but this is like a really nice topper shade. This one is very unique in my collection, and I don't really know how to describe it, but yeah, again, oh my gosh, and this gray shade is to die for. So yeah, this is a beautiful palette in my eyeshadow collection. I really like it. All of this eyeshadow on my lovely fabric over here is it's gonna need a washing after this. But yeah, this is the Juvia's Place Zulu palette. It's nice, but it's nothing special. I kind of hold on to it because of like nostalgic reasons, I guess. Yeah, this is a palette that is very nostalgic to me. And like Juvia's Place is a brand that I am pretty fond of. I really like their formula. You know, you have to use it a certain way, but once you do, it's really nice. One thing I do want to mention with Juvia's Place, I love their packaging. I think their packaging is so pretty. This palette is my favorite one from Juvia's Place. This is the Tribe palette. As I said before, I am obsessed with green shades, and this is just green grass. No, it's beautiful. I love this palette. I saw when they released this palette, I saw it on the internet and I was like, yeah, I'm buying that immediately. I didn't care. I don't know where I bought it actually, via a groups order or something else, but I was immediately obsessed with this palette. This shimmer right here, as you can see, it has like some hard pan. That is because of the moisture that I use on top of it to kind of create a liner with one look, but this is a beautiful shade. I love this kind of green gold shade. It's so pretty. And then this one is like a yellowish color, but it has like a green shift. It's so pretty as well. And this one is very unique. It's like a khaki, but with a little bit of more brown to it. But at the same time, it holds that like mustardy greenish shade, and obsessed. And this one as well, this light green, man, it has my heart. I will die for this shade, not literally but very much figuratively. Yeah, this is a beautiful palette. I love this one. Nabla palettes, okay, I need to talk about this one. I was a big fan of Nabla already. I had like their singles, I had their liquid lipsticks, I had like their individual blushes, and then they came out with their first ever palette, and this dreamy palette is to this day still one of my absolute favorite palettes. I mean, just look at this. It is so pretty, and it's also again very nostalgic to me. But when I think of this palette, I basically think of like the beginning of my blog, like where I use this palette. I remember which kind of looks I did with this palette. I remember what the formula feels like. This is a beautiful palette that I am still absolutely in love with. When it comes to the shades, this one, Vanitas, is this beautiful peach with a golden reflex. I love this one. And then, oh my gosh, Immaculate. Ooh, that was my shit together with Illusion. I have a palette from Nabla that I do definitely prefer a lot more right now, but this for a very long time was like the it palette for me. Then, being as obsessed as I was with Nabla when they brought out their soul bluing palette, which is this one right here, I lost my shit. I lost my marbles. I lost fucking everything when I saw that they were coming out with this palette. First of all, the packaging is so insanely stunning. I love the packaging of this. Soul blooming, also beautiful, but then you get to the inside and I was yeah, you can see it has 3 pens. This palette has 3 pens, which is very unique to do, especially in my collection. And with how many times I use eyeshadow, like this is, oh my gosh, I was obsessed and still am obsessed with this palette. This is unfortunately discontinued. I don't know why they always do that, but they have to stop doing this. The light blue interior of the palette as well, together with this light pink, I mean, this is a palette made for me. I'm still obsessed with this palette to this day. A few palettes we have left. This is the Huda Beauty Nude Rich palette. This is the only Huda Beauty palette that I have in my collection. It is a very stunning, beautiful palette, but I don't really use this one as often as I think I would like to, and I think that's because the shades are quite rich for me. When it comes to like everyday wear, this is a little bit too intense, I guess. And then I also don't really gravitate towards these kind of cranberries, which is weird because I love pink, but when it comes to these like cranberry shades and creating a look, it's not necessarily my favorite thing to do. But it's a beautiful palette, a very well thought out formula as well. Of all the palettes in my collection, I think this is kind of like that, yeah, it's there and it's nice, but I never use it kind of palette. And then we have my Anastasia palettes, and man, this is very nostalgic to me, okay? I have 4 palettes, and after that I stopped buying Anastasia palettes because I could not be bothered anymore. And as you can see, my last one was the Jackie Aina palette, which, oh yeah. 4 eyeshadow palettes from ABH individually are my favorite palette from ABH. I cannot choose which one is actually my favorite because I love them all so much and for different reasons. So the oldest one that I have is, oh, this is, yeah, it's never leaving. It is never leaving. This is so nostalgic, and I think a lot of you guys who have been into makeup, you know, recognize this palette. 6 pans in this palette. This shade right here, Venetian Red, to this day is a very unique color that I have not found in any other palette. Love Letter, I love that shade so much. It's like a more pink version, and while this one is a little bit more reddish pink, but this palette is just so old school. But looking at it, I still really love it, and I still am very much like obsessed with it almost. It's such a cult classic. Take a shot every time I say I love it, okay? Then after Modern Renaissance Subculture came. I know this is a very controversial palette, but this is actually a palette that I adore. I adore this palette. I adore the color scheme. To this day, I think it is one of the more unique like autumn palettes that have ever come out. Like this autumn color scheme is very unique to me. I love it. Obviously you can see the 3 pans right here, but also like the rest of this palette is very much used, and that you have a lot of dips in almost every single shade, which is very hard to do with this palette because it is so insanely pigmented. The world was not prepared for this kind of pigment, let me tell you. Like the kind of pigment that you expect palettes to have these days, this one's the first one to do it, and I think people were just very taken aback. I also really think that there were some like formula inconsistencies depending on the palette that you bought, obviously, but it's great. I love this one. There's nothing like it in my collection that has this kind of vibe to it. The perfect autumn palette. Then we have Soft Glam. This is my favorite kind of like neutral palette, to be honest. I love this palette a lot when it comes to neutrals. I feel like the undertone of almost every single shade in here is like an undertone that really matches my skin tone, which is obviously what you want to have when you are creating like a neutral look. My favorite shades in this palette are definitely like Orange Soda, and then Rustic is also really nice, and I also really like Mulberry. And then the shade Noir, which is like the black shade in the palette, is actually a shade that I panned in this palette. My favorite neutral palette, to be honest, when it comes to like these warm tone shades. Again, I love it. I love it. And finally, we have the Jackie Aina palette, which is just perfection in a palette if you are like a jewel toned fan. This is such a unique palette to me. Again, there was like a little bit of drama around this palette when there really shouldn't have been drama around it, because this is a palette that any kind of skin tone can use. But obviously you're going to be able to use it if you have a lighter complexion like myself, for example. But yeah, sometimes people are just annoying. My favorite shades in this palette are definitely like these pinky shades, these kind of trust issue shades. The shade Sponsored, oh my goodness, I love. And then also these 2 shades right here are beautiful. Every time I use this palette, I just create kind of like a look that is just beautiful and very unique, and like this kind of color combination is something I personally think you can find in Pat McGrath palettes, but like half of the price, and it's such a beautiful palette. I love this one. Very unique in my collection. Again, have nothing like it. Have a few shades in here that I also don't really have in my collections. This is very much like one of the top 10 palettes in my collection. My leg is sleeping, your eyes are weeping. Another Nabla palette that I have, this is such a cute palette. Again, it's a 6-pan palette. This is the Cutie Analog palette. I am not gonna joke about this, obviously like the formula is beautiful and stuff like that, but I mainly use this palette for this shade right here, which is Overexposed, which is something that you can see quite frequently in my videos. Yeah, this is the main reason that I use this palette, that I keep this palette. I think that shade is just so unique. The other ones are kind of like, yeah, it's pretty, but it's nothing noteworthy. It's nothing that I don't already have in other palettes. Like you can even see when I flip it. Yeah, intense, sparkly, gorgeous, beautiful shine. This is everything. This is divine. Yeah, this is a divine palette in that sense, especially that shade Overexposed. Yeah, whenever you see a peachy golden shade, it's probably this one. And this actually reminds me that I should probably do like a full look with that one because I'm itching to use it again. Then I also have these little guys. These are the e.l.f. bite-sized eyeshadows. These are so good for the price that you pay. And also like for the tiny kind of compact, this is really great. So we have Berry Bad, which is this one right here, which is really stunning. I absolutely love these kind of like muted mauvey berry pinks. They're definitely different from the one in the like Huda Beauty palette that I said I didn't really like, the mauvey berry cranberry shades. These formula is so good for what it is, man. It is so great. The mattes are really nice and buttery and smooth, and the shimmers are mature but still sparkly enough that you can see them, and quite pigmented as well. And then the green palette, this is the shade Hot Jalapeno, is also really beautiful. And this yellow shade is so intense, it's really insane to be honest, and I love the green shade right here. So again, we have pinks and greens, and I love these little guys. They're so good for the price, probably better than like some of the other palettes that I have in my collection, to be honest. Yeah, this is a bargain. The Pure Raw Beauty Christy palette, I was and I still am a big fan of like Pure and like Raw Beauty Christy. Obviously this is a palette that I paid taxes on, mind you, so this was a very expensive palette to get, but this is a beautiful palette. I like the neutral side. I love this kind of pinky shade. This yellowy shade is also really nice, and then this kind of brownie shade is a little bit more like mustardy than you would actually think. It's beautiful, but I also really like the kind of more colorful side. Again, it's kind of basic colors. They are colors that I have in my collection, but this white is very good. It's a very good white. I was kind of influenced to buy this because I was watching someone that I really like. But it's a great palette, obviously, but yeah, it's also like discontinued, so I never really, well, discontinued, it was limited edition, but it's beautiful nonetheless. Then we have this M Cosmetics palette. This is the Divine Skies eyeshadow palette in the shade Da Vinci. This is divine. I love this little guy. It's so cute. They have such deep pants. It looks like I haven't even fucking touched this, but I have definitely touched it. It's like just a very nice compact shade. The shade right here, which is like that mustardy color, is so beautiful and very complementary to like my hazily kind of eyeshadow color. But yeah, just like a really nice palette to have. Is it my favorite palette? Not necessarily, but like I really like M Cosmetics, the brand. I think their packaging is very unique. Their products are really stunning, and I was very influenced by the like Renaissance kind of, oh, you can see that it's getting dark, but I was very influenced by like the Renaissance campaign that they did as well, because I love history, and then it's named Da Vinci. I mean, come on guys. My only ColourPop palette in my entire collection is the It's My Pleasure palette, but unfortunately yeah, this happened. I lost the shade. This one has shattered, and I don't really know how it kind of got to this situation, to be honest. But also like the other shades in this palette, I'm just tired of this palette, to be honest, and I'm gonna lay it to the side for a second. I can't even really discuss it. Oh my gosh, you see how crumbly? Look at this. Completely ruined. When it comes to ColourPop, I don't like them anymore. I don't like the fast fashion element anymore, so this is like my only palette, and probably also like my last ever palette, if I have to be honest. I haven't liked any palette that they have come out with in the last couple of years. Then I have this palette from Kimchi Chic Beauty. This is one of the like makeup items that I have from them, and I really want to try more. This is the Mango Tango palette, and even though it's like Mango Tango, it doesn't look like it's Mango Tango, but you know, there's like one orange shade in here, but the other ones are pink. And these, first of all, look at how cute this kind of inner packaging is. The outer packaging as well is so cute, but I love like the inner package. Very pigmented, easy to work with, and I just love the look of this. Again, it's pinks. This red is insane. It's such a good red, and also the one beneath that, cherry, is a little bit more like pinky. But this red is so unique, and also this blue shade, very unique in my collection as well. And I really want to try more of Kimchi Chic Beauty because I think it's a very interesting brand. It's obviously getting dark outside, so I apologize for any kind of lightning stuff. But you know, it's winter, it's getting darker. Then this is the Sugar Pill Mini Fun Size palette. This is everything and everything I love in a palette. It has a cat on the front. It has these beautiful, like, oh my gosh. These 3 shades are so unique in my collection. I think I don't have anything like them. They are just absolutely mind-blowingly stunning, and I love this kind of green mustard shade. It's so, like, again, it's so unique. It's one of a kind, to be honest. This very light lime green, gray, and then this kind of like sea foamy blue. Oh god, my goodness. I love Sugar Pill. I remember Butter Cupcake, you know, back in the day. And also this palette is so beautiful. All of the other shades are really beautiful. This one, again, this kind of Game Over shade is everything to me. I think it's insanely bright and just like vibrant. Definitely one of like another top 10 favorite palettes, to be honest. And then the second to last palette that I have is this Nobla Secret palette. I'm not going to, as we say in Dutch, veel woorden aanvuil, but what I'm actually going to do is just confess my profound love for this palette. This is my most used palette, even though it doesn't look like that because it doesn't have a lot of pens, but this is my most used, my favorite, my most loved palette of all time. This just does it for me in every single category when it comes to like the neutrals and the pinks, the greens, these kind of like more warm tone shades, but at the same time still wearable for me. Every time I use this palette, I just absolutely love like the look that I end up creating. I think I look sultry. I kind of think I look sexy as well, you know. There is a different like variety of textures in this as well. You have like these gritty shades, you have normal shimmer shades, you have really nice mattes, you have kind of satin shades that you can use as like a matte as well. And even though these are satins, and like I said before, I don't really like satins, these are like a taupey kind of satin that I really appreciate and I think are very beautiful. So this palette is, it's never ever going away. This is #1. And I love the outer packaging. I think the packaging as well is just, it unlocks all of my wildest dreams. So then the final palette in my collection, and if my voice is a little bit shaky, that's because my leg is sleeping and I am very much suffering at the moment. This is the newest palette in my collection. This is the Rare Beauty Discovery palette in the shade Came to Play. This is a palette that I bought on Vinted, and I think it is very aesthetically pleasing, as they say. I cannot give you too many details because I have only used it once for like an Instagram reel where I did like a full face of Rare Beauty. The shades are really up my alley. They are these kind of like pinky shades, obviously with a purple, and then in the middle you have like this glittery shade. But I love the packaging and I just love the overall feel of this palette, and I think, you know, I'm gonna give you some more details in a video that is coming up once I have tried it a little bit more, because obviously I don't want to give first impressions. But this is the newest palette in the collection and I think she is stunning. Okay, so guys, that was my eyeshadow collection. I really hope you enjoyed today's video and thank you for watching until the end if you did so. Please don't forget to subscribe or like and comment down below on this video and tell me what you want to see more in the future, and yeah, what you like your favorite eyeshadow palette is. I would be very interested to know. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video and I will see you in my next one. Bye!